Yo, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. It is a beautiful Wednesday, August 13th, and we're live here on the program. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making our live show a part of your day. Producer Chip here to my left. You'll see him and hear from him coming up here in just a little while. And coming up on the show, we have so much to get to. The Eagles and the Browns had a joint practice this morning at the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia. They literally just got off the field. So we're going to do an Eagles-Browns joint practice reaction, take a look at some of the highlights, some of the news developments, and also take a gander at how the Eagles fared against Cleveland in what is probably the most important practice for Philadelphia throughout training camp, because this might be the only time prior to week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys that they get to go up against another team. On top of that, we have a Shedeur Sanders injury update, some top Eagles to watch against the Browns in preseason week 2, and of course we'll pass along the latest Eagles news. And I do want to do a mailbag, so start to get your questions in right now. How do you do it? Very easy. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. And when you do that, we're able to filter through your comments, pop up those questions for the mailbag. And if you send in a super chat, you are guaranteed to get your question answered. A programming reminder, we were live for week 1 of the preseason. Eagles, Bengals, the Tanner McKee game as he carved up Cincinnati's starters. We're running it back. Eagles-Browns watch party is on Saturday. Show begins with an hour pregame show at 12 p.m. Eastern. Cannot wait for that. We did over 100,000 views for Eagles-Bengals. I want to take that number down. Wait to answer those because I love chopping it up and talking Eagles with the best fans on planet Earth. And if you're ready to talk about the Birds, we have nearly 200 people watching live. I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's go. As you come in here, don't forget to smash that thumbs up icon. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream, the more people who come in here, and the more fun that we will have. Obviously, goes a long way in supporting the show. If you like the video, you hit that subscribe button, you join the comment section, and you sit back, relax, as we talk some Eagles here on the show. It's Philadelphia Eagles Now. We're live on this Wednesday, August 13th. So glad that all of you are here with us. Continue to smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. About 200 people watching live, 45 likes. We should be able to get to that 100 like number right now. And with that, the official show is officially underway. Here we go. Yo, what's good? What's up? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. A lot to get into here, as we're always talking Eagles right here on the channel. The Eagles and the Browns just got off the practice field at the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia, so we have a joint practice reaction, and then we're going to go through the Eagles news that you need to know today. And today, probably the biggest day of Eagles training camp up until this point, and arguably the biggest day that the Eagles will have all throughout training camp, because Eagles starters going up against the Browns starters, ones against ones, and this might be the only opportunity that Philadelphia has prior to the regular season opener against the Dallas Cowboys on September 4th to go up against another team in what is very close to something like live game action. And so great opportunity for this Eagles offense and this Eagles defense today to just go up against another team in very much what is like a live game setting. Once again, no A.J. Brown at practice this morning. He is still dealing with that hamstring issue. He's been out for a long while now. He is starting to ramp up some of his recovery, but obviously with a soft tissue injury and given A.J.'s history with hamstring ailments, always smart to err on the side of caution because he's one of the top wide receivers in the game. And when he's been on the field, he has helped to completely transform this Eagles offense since that draft night trade in 2022. Elsewhere on the injury report, these players did not practice this morning outside of A.J. Brown. Elijah Cooks with that shoulder, Landon Dickerson with that knee injury, and Kenyon Green with that shoulder injury. Hopefully, AJ can come back at some point soon. We'll see what goes down with Elijah Cooks. Up until that injury that he suffered against the Bengals in the preseason opener, he had been a great training camp story. Now, might be a practice squad candidate. Landon Dickerson will have that minor surgery on that meniscus that he suffered on Sunday night at the Lincoln, that open practice, and so he's going to be out for a few weeks. So, too, is Kenyon Green with that shoulder injury. I would imagine we don't see Green for the rest of the preseason, and given that he struggled with the Eagles to start camp, would not surprise me at all if he does not make this Eagles 53-man roster. These players limited. Zack Baun back on the practice field again. He had that back contusion that caused him to miss several practices. Gabe Hall missed one practice. He was back due to his shoulder injury. I think that the Eagles traded away Thomas Booker because they're believers in Gabe Hall, so I think that he can make this team. Miles Hinton, the rookie out of Michigan, 6th-round pick, ankle, he too limited. Montrell Johnson, hamstring, and Byron Young, groin. Those players also practicing today, but in a limited capacity. Gilly the Kid was on the field at the NovaCare Complex this morning alongside Big Dom, and Gilly has turned into a viral Eagles fan whose videos after Eagles victories last year went viral. He's just hilarious. The Barstool podcast is a really good listen. And obviously, back a few years ago, several years ago, probably at this point, a pretty well-known rapper in the city of Philadelphia. And then he went viral again the other day because he was in this beef with Cam Newton. Obviously, Cam didn't list Jalen Hurts as a top 10 quarterback. And Gilly the Kid took exception with that, and he went after Cam on a couple of occasions. Then Johnny Manziel tweeted at Gilly the Kid, calling him a clown. And so Gilly then put out a video on his social media pages with some white powder on his face, making fun of Johnny Manziel and his substance abuse issues. And he's like, "Come on, Johnny! Don't mess with me, Johnny!" Go check that video out. Gilly the Kid always putting on for the EAGLES Eagles. Of course, a big storyline in this joint practice session today, and of course, the Eagles will have that joint practice again tomorrow on Thursday, August 14th against Cleveland, is the development of Shedeur Sanders. Fell all the way to the 5th round. I was shocked that he continued to fall in the NFL draft because what he did at Colorado was very impressive. Good on money downs, good in the red zone. Really accurate quarterback, most accurate quarterback in college football last year, helped to turn around that Colorado program under his father in Deion Sanders. I think that Shedeur, and we saw this in the preseason opener against Carolina, throws with such great timing, accuracy, and anticipation. He's not a traditional mobile dual-threat quarterback, but he does have some playmaking to his game. And so he was practicing and warming up to probably take on the 2nd-string, 3rd-string Eagles defense. Then he suffered an oblique injury, did not practice, and we'll see if he plays in that Saturday preseason game. We'll have more on that coming up here in just a moment. Merrill Reese, the legendary Eagles play-by-play announcer, made it a point to go up to Darius Cooper, the UDFA wide receiver out of Tarleton State, who had a great spring, has transitioned into having a great summer, and then in that preseason opener against Cincinnati, he was one of the stars. I mean, he stole the show. He was fantastic, catching a few footballs from Tanner McKee, the 20-yard touchdown that he had with a really good release to beat man coverage, hand fighting downfield to open up that throwing window for McKee, who threw a rope and a dime ball to Cooper. Merrill Reese is a big Darius Cooper fan, and I think that Cooper has really come out of nowhere to be a hidden gem for this Eagles team, and he could realistically crack the 53-man roster because if you let him go, I don't think he passes through waivers to get back on the practice squad. And so what the Eagles have done, he's got some run with the ones, and he's really turned up throughout training camp. Obviously broke out in that preseason game, but they're starting to have him be a part of their special teams unit to see if he can contribute there and be a two-way player. Help on offense, help on special teams, and also keep in mind, as we look ahead to next offseason, Jahan Dotson is going to be a free agent. And so Philadelphia might be trying to develop a Darius Cooper, a Johnny Wilson, and a Nia Smith to maybe be that wide receiver 3 alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And for Merrill Reese, he's been on the mic calling Eagles games on WIP for decades and decades. He Preseason! Touchdown! Can't wait for the season to get underway to hear some more great Merrill Reese calls. Of course, the Eagles this offseason did not pull the trigger on a Myles Garrett trade. On the Monday of Super Bowl week, he caused a lot of headlines by demanding a trade from the Cleveland Browns. And so the Eagles were mentioned as a prime trade destination for Garrett because Howie Roseman is always aggressive. He values the edge rusher spot. He always goes star hunting. A few weeks later, Garrett ended up signing that huge contract extension with Cleveland, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football before he got overtaken by TJ Watt. Garrett making $40 million per year. It was a long day for Jordan Myada going up against Myles Garrett, who did have one sack of Jalen Hurts, but Myada in a hot and muggy practice session did fare well against one of the top pass rushers in the game, arguably the top pass rusher in the game, and he gave this Eagles offensive line really good practice today. All right, let's get to some practice observations. Adoree Jackson did start off with the first-string defense at outside corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. I think that's of note because this was pretty much like a preseason game for Philadelphia. Sidney Brown at that safety position started next to Reed Blankenship. At linebacker, it was Zack Baun and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. getting the start at inside backer. Baun finally back, coming off that back contusion, and welcome back for the 2024 first-team All-Pro, who is a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. He did break up a Kenny Pickett pass over the middle as Eagles legend Kenny Pickett, KP, the South Jersey guy, did make his return to Philadelphia as well, as he was the backup for the Eagles last year en route to winning the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts did have a rough start against Cleveland. He was picked off to begin practice in one-on-ones. Then he was intercepted in 7-on-7s. Keep in mind, the Browns do have a really good defense, led by defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, who was the DC for the Eagles back when they won Super Bowl 52 with Doug Peterson. And so this served as a good test for this Eagles offense as well. And Kevin Patullo, first-year offensive coordinator and first-time play caller. Avery Williams was first up at punt returner. That continues to be a sneaky good competition for this Eagles team because is Avery Williams going to be the punt returner? Is it going to be Anaya Smith? That could come down to roster numbers and a roster crunch, but Williams does certainly have ability there, the free agent pickup from this offseason from the Atlanta Falcons. Now, some young players and some members of this Eagles rookie draft class did get in on some action with the first-string defense. Jahad Campbell sprinkled in at off-ball linebacker, and then Drew Makuba, the second-round pick, after Campbell was selected in the first round, got some run with the ones at that safety position. The Eagles are really still trying to figure out who will start on the other side of Quinyon Mitchell, who will start alongside Zack Baun, although I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has the inside track, and who will start at that safety position. With a few weeks left to go until the start of the regular season, those competitions continue to be hot. Tanner McKee, best backup quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I think that he could start for a variety of teams. He had a great downfield pass to Johnny Wilson. And Johnny Wilson, after having a slow start to camp, had a great preseason game against Cincinnati, finally using his 6'6" frame to go up and get it, climb the ladder, get physical, come down with those 50-50 balls. He caught 3 impressive passes from Tanner McKee. Today, another great downfield pass from McKee, and Johnny Wilson was also catching passes from Jalen Hurts. Wilson was getting some run with the ones because A.J. Brown was out. This is a great sign as the Eagles really look to develop the future wide receiver 3, whether it be Wilson, Smith, because as I mentioned, the aforementioned Jahan Dotson going to be a free agent. Johnny Wilson did have a leaping grab on that pass from Jalen Hurts, and it's great to see him using that 6'6" frame to pull down passes. And what McKee does so well, he doesn't shy away from throwing those 50-50s because he always likes to give his receiver a shot. And I think that Jalen Hurts can do a little bit of a better job with that, but sometimes he doesn't trust an inexperienced player like Wilson. He's also not getting as many reps with Wilson like Tanner McKee is. All right, we're just getting started here on the show. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. About 400 people watching live for our live show, 84 likes. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon. I certainly appreciate that. I also want to tell you about this phenomenal deal, thanks to our friends at Fanatics. This Eagles New Orleans Super Bowl shirt was $40. It is now on sale, more than 50% off for just $18. Lombardi Trophy on the front, with kind of a New Orleans-themed outline there that I think is so sick, because obviously the Eagles won that game at the Superdome in New Orleans, dump truck in Kansas City. The Super Bowl 59 logo also on the front of that shirt, like I have right here. I got this, Radio Row, Super Bowl, New Orleans. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our coverage there. These shirts, again, were $40, now on sale for just $18. Head to chatsports.com/EaglesNola. That is chatsports.com/EaglesNola. Get your shirts today. Save money, look good, feel good, and rep the birds. That link is down below in the comment section and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, all right, more joint practice reactions and takeaways here. Kelee Ringo did mix in with the starting defense as well, outside of Adoree Jackson. So too did the new trade piece, Jacorian Bennett, who the Eagles traded for last Monday night. He got mixed in with the starters. He had a pass breakup against Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is one of the top wide receivers in the game, and he's a speedster. So too is Bennett, who can run 4.3. Then Bennett started to struggle. Keep in mind, I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but he's getting acclimated with this defense and learning it. And so he did struggle after that PBU. He gave up a touchdown, had a pass interference penalty called against him, and gave up a couple of other big plays. But clearly, outside corner is still a real competition, and it's a three-way competition between Ringo, Jackson, and Bennett. I mentioned earlier, it was a big test today for the Eagles offensive line and Jordan Myada, who last year was one of the highest graded offensive tackles in football. I thought he should have been a first-team All-Pro over Tristan Wirfs because I thought he was better. He did give up a sack going up against Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett is always going to get his. After a slow start, Hurts did start to pick it up in today's practice. He had touchdown throws to A.J. Dillon. It's good to see Dillon catching balls out of the backfield and displaying that type of versatile skill set. Then Hurts was able to hit Devontae Smith. Those touchdown throws did come against the Browns starters. Hurts was a little bit up and down. Started slow, picked it up, but his accuracy was a little bit off. His decision-making wasn't great, and I thought that after not making good decisions with the ball in 2023, he did a much better job of that in 2024, keeping it out of harm's way, and that led to this Eagles offense being so efficient, but today he threw a couple of passes that should have been picked off. So still a growing process for Hurts in trying to master this offense. There was also a training camp fight in a special teams rep. It turned heated. And I'm not sure who started that fight, but I can imagine it was probably Sidney Brown, who's always mixing it up. And after Jalen Hurts did heat up, he was picked off again. And so that is the lack of good decision-making today for Hurts. He can reverse course tomorrow on the back end of that second joint practice, and hopefully he plays a little bit better than he did, because, again, I doubt that he's going to play in the preseason, and so this might be the only time that he gets going up against another team. Also of note, Azeez Ojulari had a good day. Some pressures, some sacks. He is trying to lock down that third pass rusher job behind Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. It's been Ojulari and Josh Uche really competing against one another. And then going back to Shedeur Sanders, here is the update from Adam Schefter that Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders suffered an oblique injury while throwing during the early portion of practice today, and he was held out for the rest of the session. And now it is unknown if he is going to play against Philadelphia in this preseason Week 2 game on Saturday. That would be a bummer because, look, he might already be the most popular player on that Browns team. And if he's not number one, second most popular player behind Myles Garrett, but if the common man were to see Garrett and Shedeur Sanders on the street, he would probably be able to pick up that is Shedeur Sanders. Might not know who Myles Garrett is. Plus, he's a defensive end and not really that marketable. And so I'm looking forward to the Shedeur hype coming to the link on Saturday, it would draw a lot of eyeballs. Frankly, it would be fun to watch because I thought Shedeur played very, very well in his professional debut. The 2 touchdown throws that he made were pinpoint precision throws. The first one, he threw a very accurate ball, put it in a spot where his receiver could go and get it. And then the second one, he was staring down the gun barrel with the defender in his face. Then he slid to his right, got a really good block from his running back, and threw another very pristine ball. And I think that Shedeur does have a future playing in the NFL. There were a lot of Browns reporters today saying he's not participating in 7-on-7s, no reps in 11-on-11s. What is going on? What is Kevin Stefanski thinking? Well, it turns out he did suffer that oblique injury in the early portion of practice. So that right there is our training camp reaction video from the joint practice today between Cleveland and Philadelphia in South Philly. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I'm always talking Eagles here on YouTube. I'm always talking Eagles over there as well. Coming up next, players going into week 2 of the preseason who need to ball out for Philadelphia. A lot of players who we're about to talk about and the reasons why they must perform in week 2 of the preseason. Stay tuned for that. That'll be segment number 2. Segment number 3, going to be a mailbag. I want to hear from you. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. That's the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. If you have a question, if you have a hot take, if you have some analysis that you want to pass along, within your comment, use the hashtag Eagles or super chat. And if you super chat, you're guaranteed to be here on the show. You take a look at our YouTube top fans. Shout out to Fred. Shout out to Andrew Nathan. Shout out to Kimbo40. They have gathered 75 XP so far. I'm telling you right now, if we have somebody who sends in a super chat, you will vault up that leaderboard. You will skyrocket up that leaderboard. And this is a new feature from YouTube where the more that you comment, the more super chats that you send in, the more points that you gather. So send those comments in, send those super chats in, and a good way to comment is by getting those questions in for our mailbag. Chip, how we doing on the mailbag questions here?
We did a pretty good job so far, man.
Right.
Shout out to y'all. Shout out to, I know I've seen Tanner Plummer get a few questions in. Adam Greenspan, I saw get a question in. So we did a pretty good job so far getting these in. Shout out to y'all, but keep getting them in, man. The more we get, the better. And again, if you want to ensure your question is answered at the start of the show, send in a super chat, ask a question, give a hot take, give an opinion, whatever you want. We'll answer that at the start of the mailbag. But again, that's hashtag Eagles, like Trey Losado just did in the chat. Ask a question, get on the show. A lot of good stuff today, man. I can tell, that now that we're getting back into the start of the season, back into the swing of things, more people back in here. People got more questions, more things they want to know as we get closer to the start of the season. So it gets me fired up, baby.
So this is pretty cool. Jalen Hurts and Shedeur Sanders had a lengthy conversation after practice, and Hurts gave the injured Shedeur a ride back on his golf cart back to the locker room. And here's what Hurts said about that conversation. Quote, "I'll keep the conversation intimate. We had a very lengthy conversation. He came to me, just wanted to talk. I'm always there, giving my perspective on what I see and how I've gone about things. Ultimately, it takes a great deal of patience and hard work to, and a sense of resilience. You've got to want it. You've got to want it. I'm supporting him from where I am and wishing him nothing but the best with his opportunities." So pretty cool moment there between Hurts and Shedeur Sanders. So let me tweet this out. You can give me a follow at Chase_Senior. Just tweeting this out.
Just threw the link to Chase's Twitter down there in the chat.
Boom.
Boom. Give him a follow, baby.
Just tweeted that out. Be sure to give me a retweet and a follow. And also, you get to stay in the know with all things Eagles. All right. Hashtag Eagles, send in a super chat to be a part of our mailbag. Coming up next, players on this Eagles roster who must ball out in preseason game number 2. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, these 2 players have the most pressure on them. Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good. Cool. Yeah, let's do like, I'll begin by saying like these 2 players have the most pressure on them going into the second week of the preseason. First, Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, then we can go into the quote, and that can be the YouTube short. Yeah, that sounds good. See, we don't take commercial breaks here. We'll communicate it right here on the show. Let's go. All right. More than 300 people watching live. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video. Diego G. Chase a bag. Yeah, you already know. All right. Eagles players with the most approved. That is segment number 2. Then we'll do that mailbag to round things out. Let's go. Yep. And if you want to send in a super chat, let's get those super chats going. If anybody out there sends in a $50 super chat, I know that it's 1:05 p.m. Eastern. I'll shotgun a beer for a $50 super chat. Let's get it. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, the Eagles players going into the second week of the preseason against the Cleveland Browns who have the most to prove. Speaking of that game, let's do a sub-battle here. Eagles-Browns, Saturday at the Link, second game of the preseason for Philadelphia and Cleveland. And our Browns channel here at Chat Sports is the hottest channel because they've really capitalized on the Shedeur Sanders hype. And because of that hype, they have gained 1,504 subscribers in the month of August alone. Philadelphia Eagles Now is humming right now, and the channel is doing great, but I want to catch up to the Browns report. So lock us in, hit that subscribe button, and here on the show, I will give you Eagles coverage every single day year-round. News analysis and reactions. We do live shows and watch parties. I want you to get involved and you to have a voice as a viewer and a subscriber of this program. So we're all about that audience interaction. And if you watch the show, I guarantee you, you will become a more informed Eagles fan. With that, we take a look at the Eagles with the most approved going into this game against Cleveland. There are 2 Philadelphia Eagles who have the most pressure on them going up against the Browns in week 2 of the preseason. Player number 1, cornerback Keely Ringo. He did not fare well against Jamar Chase. And I know a lot of people have said, Chase, it's Jamar Chase. Nobody can cover him. You look at this Eagles schedule throughout the 2025 campaign, the Eagles face a lot of top-tier quarterbacks and a lot of great wide receivers. That preseason opener against Cincinnati, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, was a preview of what could come this year. Iron sharpens iron, and it was Jamar Chase who clearly won that battle against Ringo, who really struggled. And Adoree Jackson, who's competing with him to be the other outside corner, opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, did not fare much better. Which player is going to be able to lock down that starting role, with the Eagles also acquiring Jacorian Bennett, who is a third factor of this competition? My eyes will be on that cornerback battle on Saturday afternoon at the Link. And you look at how Keely and Adoree fared against the Bengals. Keely gave up 4 catches on 4 targets for 79 yards and a touchdown. That was good for a perfect passer rating of 158.3 on only 16 coverage snaps. Adoree Jackson, 4 catches on 5 targets for 45 yards. He surrendered a passer rating of 104.2 in 16 coverage snaps. You got to be better if you want to make an impression on Vic Fangio. And with that, I segue to the third element of this cornerback competition, and that is Jacorian Bennett. Eagles traded for him last Monday, and this is a player who won a starting job as a 4th-round pick out of Maryland with the Las Vegas Raiders in 2023. He has been injured his first 2 years in the NFL, but he has also been very productive as far as ball skills, going up against really good wideouts across the NFL. He can play. He's trying to master this defense and get acclimated with what Vic Fangio asks of his corners. But I said it right away. When the Eagles traded for him, he is going to have an opportunity to win that starting job alongside Keely and Adoree. This Eagles edge rusher competition has also been a really good one throughout camp, and it's become a stout competition. Who will be edge rusher 3 behind the starters? And Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, 2 young players who Philadelphia absolutely loves. And this offseason, Howie Roseman signed Azeez Ojulari from the Giants, Josh Uche from the Chiefs, as 2 veterans who are cost-controlled assets who I think could end up being great bang-for-your-buck type of assets for the Eagles. Azeez Ojulari has had his moments throughout camp, mostly running with the 2s. So too has Uche, and they both have similar games. Smaller players with a really quick gut-off, very explosive. Vic Fangio has even said it's a neck-and-neck competition right now between Uche and Ojulari. So who will win that role? Because they will get a decent amount of snaps behind Smith and behind Hunt. With Landon Dickerson being out for a few weeks because of that meniscus injury, it is Brett Tauth who is running with the ones at that first-team left guard spot. He has been more of a flexible, positional versatility type of offensive lineman. I'm not sure he's the best option at left guard, but Jeff Stoutland and the Philadelphia Eagles really trust him. And Drew Kendall kind of beat him out to be the second-string center behind Cam Jurgens, which is why the Eagles moved Tauth to left guard. I don't think that left guard is decided upon yet. It's the hope that Landon Dickerson is going to be able to come off that minor meniscus repair, and he's going to be able to start week 1 against Dallas, but it's not a guarantee that he's going to be back because he's a big body on a bulky knee trying to come off an injury that is not easy to recover from. And so with Tauth struggles, that could open up a couple of opportunities. Does Tyler Steen go from right guard to left guard? Matt Pryor at right guard? Do you go with one of the rookies to play that left guard spot? Do you make an external move? We will certainly see Brett Tauth. We'll have some eyes on him as well. Rookie first-round pick linebacker Jahad Campbell did not get the start for the Eagles in that preseason opener against Cincinnati because the Eagles medical staff wanted to limit his snaps, but I thought he played well in limited action. You can see the aggression and the violence that he plays with. You can see the length and the athleticism that has impressed a lot of people throughout training camp. He is kind of that modern-day linebacker, like Zack Baun, because he has that edge rusher background. He can get after the quarterback from that outside linebacker spot and as a pass rusher, but he can also drop back in coverage and cover wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and slot wideouts. And I think that he's going to end up being a really good player. Can he win a starting role next to Zack Baun, or will Jeremiah Trotter Jr. lock that role down? Jahad Campbell should get some extended action in this second preseason affair. And then we pivot to the wide receiver position. We know that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson are going to be the top 3 wideouts for this Eagles team on the initial 53. What will wide receiver 4, 5, and 6 look like if the Eagles hold on to 6 wide receivers? The pressure was on Johnny Wilson to play well against Cincinnati. He did. Came down with those 50-50 contested catches, and he used that 6'6 frame to go up and get it with a couple of head tops. Anaya Smith had a tremendous, very impressive punt return, and that is one of his specialties. Short area wiggle and quickness and being able to contribute on special teams. And he caught that touchdown pass on that in-breaking route from Tanner McKee. Darius Cooper was better, I thought, than both Wilson and Smith, but Wilson and Smith were drafted by this Eagles team in 2024, and because they played well and they showed some ability, they showed some growth, which is what you wanted to see from those young players, I think they make the team. But I think Darius Cooper is too good to cut and hope that he passes through waivers, because I think another team would claim him. And so I think the Eagles are going to have to get creative with that initial 53. I think they might have to hold on to 6 wide receivers. You gave $2 million in guaranteed money to Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson. Do you cut one or both of those tight ends to go with 2 tight ends on the initial 53 like you did last year with Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra? If you hold on to one of those tight ends, do you cut another player at a position like corner, a position like running back, and hope that you can bring back an A.J. Dillon if you cut him? Fascinating approach tactically to see what the Eagles are going to do with that initial 53 because this is a very deep football team. With that, today's poll question is this: which Eagles player has the most to prove going into the second week of the preseason? Drop me a name or names down below in the comment section right now. I also want to plug this phenomenal deal thanks to our friends at Fanatics. These Eagles Super Bowl shirts are more than 50% off, but limited time only, and you have to use our link for that deal to apply. It's chatsports.com/EaglesNola. The Lombardi Trophy is on the front, but the link is chatsports.com/EaglesNola because this is a New Orleans-themed shirt. There's a New Orleans design that hovers that Lombardi Trophy. Get yours today. They were $40, now just $18, only available while supplies last. Get some Eagles gear prior to the season. Chatsports.com/EaglesNola. We move forward on today's show. I think that the safety competition is still a real one. And Vic Fangio's actions back that up, right? He's giving Ringo, Jackson, Bennett opportunities at the other outside corner job, opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. And at safety, he continues to mix in Sidney Brown and Drew Makuba. Now, going into training camp, Vic Fangio had said Tristan McCullum will be in the mix. Andre Sam is a candidate. Maybe even Lewis Seen. I think those players have dropped off. It is a two-horse battle right now. Former third-round pick in Sidney Brown from the 2023 draft and second-round pick from the 2025 draft in Andrew Makuba. Sidney Brown, physical, downhill guy, more of a thumper, never shies away from contact, nor does Andrew Makuba, but he's a little bit smaller than Sidney Brown. Doesn't pack as much of a punch when he lays hits. And I think he has more ball skills and higher upside to be that ball hawking safety, whereas Brown is more of that downhill guy. And then sticking in this secondary, Eli Ricks, 2023 UDFA out of Alabama. When he was coming out of high school, he was one of the most sought-after cornerback recruits in the entire country. Went to LSU, played well under Nick Saban at Alabama. He has shown some moments, but the Eli Ricks experiment, if you will, has played out very much like the preseason game against Cincinnati, where you see some flashes, you see the length, you see the ball skills, right? And in his rookie year against Baltimore, remember that interception that he had in that preseason game? Good anticipatory diagnosing skills to come out of the pedal and pursue that football, but sometimes he has lapses. Against Cincinnati, had the pass break up, should have had that interception, also had a penalty, and got beat on, I believe, a long third down play. And so I like him as a developmental player, but he's going to need to play better and ball out if he wants to get snaps for this Eagles defense, because maybe he can be a fourth option in that competition for that outside corner role. And then you look at Ty Robinson, another draft pick from this year out of Nebraska, also known as Vanilla Gorilla. I thought that he played very well, and he popped on a couple of snaps where he came screaming through the line of scrimmage. He had a sack, but because he is a little bit smaller at that defensive tackle spot, at about 290 pounds, yeah, he can run 4.88, and he can move for his size, but against the run, he can get pushed around a little bit. The anchor, the play strength, gonna need to improve, because if he does get snaps for the Eagles this year and other teams know that number 95 is on the field, they're going to run it right at him. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I can't imagine that Tanner McKee is going to play as much as he did in week one, because he doesn't need to, right? Tanner McKee cooked and balled out in that game against Cincinnati, and he looks like a starting quarterback at the NFL level. I know that Bengals defense was bad in 2024, but that was their starters, and Tanner McKee was carving them up. But I don't think he's going to play into the third quarter like he did against Cincinnati, because he doesn't need to. And you want a look at DTR and Kyle McCord. Now, I hope that McKee plays a lot, because I love watching him play. He is a very fun quarterback to evaluate, and the Eagles have a gem as their QB2. But they need to figure out who will be QB3 between Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. I thought DTR did some decent things. I also thought he telegraphed passes, and he got a little bit gun-shy in the pocket. I'd like to see him utilize his legs a little bit more compared to what he did against Cincinnati. and he got some decent run. Kyle McCord didn't. And so that's why his interception was a little bit exacerbated, right? Because in limited action, he still threw a pick. Eagles use a 6th-round pick on him. Clearly, they really like the player, but DTR has been better than him throughout training camp and was better than him in that preseason game. And so DTR, Kyle McCord, other players who need to ball out against Cleveland as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for videos coming your way every single day right here on Eagles Now. And as always, thank you so much for rocking with us. Mailbag is coming up next. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. Roberto Marks, Dub C in the building. Hey, man, that's great. I'm from Westchester. Grew up on 926 and 202, right by Penn Oaks Golf Course.
Good job on the questions today.
Awesome.
We got plenty.
Happy to hear that.
Plenty to run through. Get to as many as we can here.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff today, for sure. Again, last chance to get your questions in right now. Use hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. Guaranteed to get your question answered at the start of the mailbag.
Let's go. Get those questions in. You send in a super chat, you're guaranteed to get those questions answered. I'm actually kind of surprised that nobody's sent in a super chat yet. $50. I'll shotgun a beer. Let's go. Can't be scared out here.
A little early afternoon beer. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. All right, hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. Last call for the mailbag. Excited to open up the floor and answer all of your questions. And we're about to do that momentarily. All right, let's do it. Mailbag coming up. This will round out our live show here today. Can't wait to take your questions for a Philadelphia Eagles Now mailbag. You're, of course, watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr. We're going to open up the floor and talk all things Eagles training camp, preseason, and probably look ahead to the regular season as well. I have no idea which questions are going to come my way, but I'm ready to field all of them. Before we do that, a programming reminder. On Saturday afternoon, we will be live right here on Eagles Now. Myself, producer Chip, for our Eagles-Browns watch party. We will do an hour pregame show, so the show gets underway an hour before kickoff at 12 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss it, and I hope to see all of you there. Lock us in and hit that subscribe button for daily Philadelphia Eagles coverage right here on the channel. Adam Mordecai, good to hear from you. It's been a little while. Someone battling for cornerback 2 needs to pull ahead. Adam, great point and a great statement right there. And you're exactly right, because this is still a firm battle to see who will start on the other side of Quinyon Mitchell. And it's really right now a 3-horse race, maybe even a 4-horse race between Adoree Jackson, Kelee Ringo, Jacorian Bennett, and Eli Ricks. And all of those players bring you something a little bit different. And that's great in a way, but you're looking for one player to lock down that job to instill confidence in Vic Fangio, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and this entire team that they can be very serviceable on the outside. And remember what the Eagles did this offseason. They let Darius Slay go to Pittsburgh. He was affordable. 1-year, $10 million deal. They let Isaiah Rodgers walk to the Minnesota Vikings for about $7 million. Letting Slay go because he's older and he's had some knee issues that the Eagles are concerned about, fine. But you could have afforded Isaiah Rodgers. And if Isaiah Rodgers was on this team, I think that he would have locked down that job. You probably wouldn't have signed an Adoree Jackson. So you would have had Isaiah Rodgers, Kelee Ringo, and Eli Ricks, and maybe they would have traded for Jacorian Bennett. Who the hell knows? The point that I'm making is that Isaiah Rodgers, I think, would have won this job, and he would have been a very good player given what he did last year and how well he played for this Eagles team. And so the pressure is on Ringo, Jackson, even Jacorian Bennett, and I imagine that he plays in this game because the Eagles want to look at him in game action, in addition to Eli Ricks in this preseason game against Cleveland, to see who can step up, make plays, because right now Vic Fangio has been rotating all of these players in and out with that first-string defense. Daphne Covington, thank you for the question. Do you think that Howie Roseman will make a move before the season starts? It's completely possible. I mean, Howie Roseman in recent years has made so many moves just in the month of August. Traded for Jacorian Bennett this year. Last year, traded for Jahan Dotson. In 2022, traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. In 2021, traded for Gardner Minshew. Howie Roseman has been very active and aggressive in making trades to try to bulk up his football team and to try to solve lingering questions that the Eagles might have on that Eagles roster. And so I know that Philadelphia made the move for Jacorian Bennett, and I think that Bennett has a lot of upside on his rookie contract, 4.3 speed. He started a lot of games for the Raiders since being a fourth-round pick in 2023 by Las Vegas, and I think that he can really play. But if there's another corner out there who the Eagles like a little bit more, they could trade for that corner. And Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, they don't have big cap hits if you want to let them go. If there's an edge rusher out there who Philadelphia really likes, and they're not confident in edge rusher depth, or they want a borderline star at that position, wouldn't surprise me there. If something happens with Landon Dickerson's injury, and the Eagles don't like what they see at left guard, could they make a move there? Look, with Howie Roseman, you can never sleep. And it's so funny how people will say, stop talking about trades and trade rumors, yet time and time again, Howie Roseman makes all of these trades. That's why we talk about it here on the show, to inform all of you. Adam Greenspan, how did the offensive guards do? Steen, Pryor, Tauth, Kennard, Kendall, Hinton. So in the preseason opener, you got Drew Kendall, the 6th-round pick out of Boston College, with more than 30 games started in his college career. Pops played in the NFL starting at center. That was a big takeaway for me, that he is the backup center behind Cam Jurgens. Brett Tauth started at left guard. Tyler Steen started at right guard. I thought that Kendall held up well at center. I thought Tyler Steen's block early in the game on the Will Shipley 38-yard run was terrific. Matt Pryor also deserves credit for the block that he laid to let that play happen. Brett Tauth at left guard did some decent things. Cam Williams, I know in the joint practice against the Browns on Wednesday, it was hot, humid, and muggy. He needed a breather because he was having a difficult practice. That's a little bit of a concern with him. Is he in good enough shape? As far as some of the other players along the offensive line, Miles Hinton had back-to-back penalties. Didn't love to see that. Laken Vakalahi on this team as part of the International Pathway Program. I just don't know if he's an NFL player. But what the Eagles have done so far with Dickerson out, it's been Brett Tauth at that left guard spot. Kenyon Green, not in the mix. He was awful before his injury. Now he's going to miss the rest of the preseason. I don't think he is a lock to make this Eagles team. So some question marks along the offensive line, but you know who you can rely on? Jeff Stoutland to get that offensive line going. Trey Lasado, good to hear from another real one here. What are your thoughts on Darius Cooper? I think he's been incredible during the preseason. It's been incredible during the preseason. This is a UDFA out of Tarleton State, which is less than 2 hours away from Dallas, who last year at the FCS level had nearly 1,500 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns. And his measurables in the pre-draft, very similar to A.J. Brown. Both ran just under a 4.5 40-yard dash in the 4.4s. Both had very similar bench press numbers, very similar vertical and broad jump numbers. And while AJ's a little bit taller at about 6 feet, Darius Cooper 5'11", you see kind of the yoked body frame that Cooper has. He has really good play strength. The 20-yard touchdown that he caught from Tanner McKee, I just loved everything about it, right? Press man, one-on-one, little stutter go, was able to beat his guy. And then once the cornerback started to catch up to him a little bit, he had a little bit of getaway speed to separate, but then used that hand fighting to create an even bigger throwing window for Tanner McKee, who dropped it right in the bucket. The other play that really reminded me of A.J. Brown from Darius Cooper was that in-breaking route where he put his foot in the ground and then spun out of it to turn back outside to pick up yards after the catch. How many times have we seen A.J. Brown make that play, especially on some big third downs where he'll catch it, put his foot in the ground, spin out of it, and by that time, the DB either over-pursues, can't throttle down, or gets juked out like an old-school Allen Iverson crossover. And so I think Darius Cooper is a real player. I think it's really telling that after that preseason game against Cincinnati, he got some reps with the ones catching passes from Jalen Hurts because A.J. Brown has been out. And so the Eagles have mixed some of their young wideouts in there with that first-string defense. But I think Cooper has played to a point where, especially if he can contribute on special teams, he should make this Eagles 53-man roster. And what a story that would be. What a hidden gem he could end up being. And as you look ahead to, Jahan Dotson going to be a free agent after this year. So he could very well be wide receiver 3 in 2026. Speaking of this preseason game against the Browns, who you got? CLE for Cleveland, PHI for Philadelphia. Let me know down in the comment section. Currently rebranding has been watching the show for a very long time. Do you think that Johnny Wilson has a realistic chance to make the roster? Going into preseason game number 1, with the emergence of Cooper, with the emergence of Elijah Cooks, I thought that Wilson was firmly on the roster bubble. I thought he played awesome against Cincinnati, and it was great to see. He is 6'6", but my issue with him in the pre-draft was looked like Tarzan, played like Jane, had a lot of drops, sometimes was lazy with the routes that he ran. But Johnny Wilson in that game against Cincinnati finally played up to his size, used his size to his advantage. He wasn't letting the DB come down with those 50-50s. He was going up and getting it. He was snatching balls off a defender's helmet, and he was making plays downfield while gaining a little bit of separation. Now, I love how Tanner McKee trusted him to make a play, how Tanner McKee threw it up to Wilson to give him a shot, and I think that Hurts can sometimes do a better job of that, but sometimes it comes down to gaining trust in your wideout. But look at the frame here. We're talking wingspan. We're talking height. We're talking physicality. Early in camp, he let the 5'10" Mac McWilliams beat him on a 50-50. Can't happen when you're that size. Give me that head topper, right? But against Cincinnati, he made those plays. Against the Browns in the joint practice on Wednesday, Wilson made a couple of really nice plays downfield. And so going into that preseason game against the Bengals, I thought that he was on the roster bubble. But since he's made some plays, and if he continues to do that in the preseason, I think he's a lock to make this team. Joshua Mullins, should we go after Justin Simmons for a veteran presence? It's so funny. I've seen some comments of people saying, stop talking about Justin Simmons. Yet, the fan base is so interested and intrigued by the idea of the Eagles signing Justin Simmons. And I continue to have the same opinion that I even had last offseason. This would be a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because he's a 4-time second-team All-Pro. He is a ball-hawking safety. He thrived and played awesome All-Pro football under Vic Fangio. He is tight with Eagles defensive backs coach Christian Parker. You are a bona fide Super Bowl contender going into 2025. Do you want to take a risk at the other safety spot next to Reed Blankenship with young players who are inexperienced like Sidney Brown and Drew Makuba? Even if you sign Justin Simmons, it's not guaranteed that he's going to start. That's fine. To have a backup like that who would be cheap, who knows the defense, who's a team leader, would be great in the locker room, who gives you that ball-hawking center field type of safety, it's a no-brainer. And I think that he could play well for this Eagles team. Did he play well for Atlanta last year? No. But he had to learn a new defense, and that Falcons defense was trash. They were last in sacks, last in sack percentage, and if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, the back end's job is made a lot harder. And we saw that. That was a byproduct of Simmons' struggles. So, look, we'll see how Makuba and Brown play in these last 2 preseason games, how they fare the rest of training camp. But I'm not ruling out the Eagles signing Simmons, even if it's right before the regular season. Given that he's a veteran, I don't think he needs that much time to ramp up and get ready. John Galt, and by the way, Simmons has said he'd like to play for the Eagles. The Eagles need to continue the trend we started last year of a defense being able to tackle. The game is about blocking and tackling. John Galt, I absolutely love what you said there, because there are other teams in the NFL who somehow do not value offensive line play. They would rather pay and invest in skill position players over offensive linemen. The San Francisco 49ers have said this openly, that they invest in players who score touchdowns over the trenches. Well, there's a reason why the Niners haven't won a Super Bowl since 1994. There's a reason why the Eagles have won twice since 2017. Because I believe that the games oftentimes are won and lost in the trenches. And the Eagles always invest in their offensive line. They always invest in their defensive line. And sometimes in the game of football, you have to watch the game from the sideline, right? And that is a great indicator for who is winning that game. Which offensive line is getting a push? Which defensive line is getting a push? Which offensive line is really good in pass protection? Which offensive line can't pass protect? If you are stout up front, it makes everything so much easier. I love what Jim Harbaugh says. He looks at offensive linemen like weapons. And I totally agree. And you think about Howie Roseman's approach here. Jordan Myada already got contract extension. Dickerson got a second contract from the Eagles. Cam Jurgens, second contract. Lane Johnson, how many contracts has he gotten from Philadelphia? Tyler Steen, they used a third-round pick on him. He steps in for Mekhi Becton at right guard. And also, great offensive line play and great line play in general allows you to beat a variety of opponents in a variety of ways. It gives you wiggle room where if you're struggling in one area, passing or running, you can win in another area. And you can win in all types of weather. And then tackling, you are so right, John. Last year, this Eagles team was such a great tackling team. They also did such a great job of generating and manufacturing turnovers. In the NFL, when you win the turnover battle, you win about 80% of the time. And when you are a good tackling team, it helps you in a variety of ways where if you miss tackles, that leads to big explosive plays, which can lead to touchdowns, which can lead to long, elongated drives. And the mechanics and the fundamentals of tackling are important at every level of football. And last year, that was such a huge thing that I realized the Eagles were doing under Vic Fangio that they hadn't been doing in years past. The 2023 team, joke. Poorly coached, could not cover, could not tackle. And they went from being one of the worst defenses in all of football, one of the worst teams I've ever seen defensively, to last year, the number one overall defense in the game. Shedeur Sanders, do you think the team itself will have the unity that they had last year? I think so. I mean, everything that I've heard from all of the coaches, all of the players about last year being last year, they've forgotten about it. That is in the rear view. You know, Jalen Hurts addressed the team at the start of camp. Blank canvas. Landon Dickerson, the 2024 team, had an expiration date. That was last year. This is this year. We are now 0-0. We're starting anew. Nick Sirianni has spent so much time this offseason around coaches who have won titles to see how they handled championship success. And so I think this Eagles team right now culturally is in such a great spot. Now, you start to lose a lot of games, human nature, a lot of people will start pointing fingers. Getting off to a fast start, especially in the city of Philadelphia, will be very important. But I also think that the Eagles have a lot of great leaders on this team. All right, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now for daily coverage of the Birds right here on the show. EAGLES Eagles. Let's go. All right. 3 segments down. 3 segments down in about an hour. All right, let's do this. I'm going to give you a 2-minute super chat shot clock. If somebody sends in a super chat within 2 minutes, we stay live. If not, we sign off. Shout out to our commenters here. Kane Angel, Eric Brown, and Fred. They have been our top fans today because they have been commenting the most.
A lot of people in here as well with 75 points. Fred, Jason, Andrew, Nathan, Kimbo, John Galt, Dubs Fam, Tanner Plummer, Bruce, Rob.
Tanner Plummer said Simmons would have to learn the defense if he came to Philly. He knows the defense already. He played under Fangio. He played under Christian Parker. Gino and Joseph, what's good, Chase? What's good, Gino? Bell Gates, go Birds. Eric Brown, how are you doing today? I'm even better that you're here watching the show. John Galt, it's the nature of Chester County. Same way in Berwyn. Berwyn, gotta love it. All right, good comments today. Sir Chai, Team Shedeur Sanders. I hope the oblique injury isn't bad and he can play on Saturday because that will add a lot of intrigue. Cheryl also giving us a go Birds. Awesome
Go Birds!
Stuff. Awesome stuff. 30 seconds left on our 2-minute super chat shot clock. Great audience today, though. It's been awesome.
Joe Lord.
Joe Lord. What up, Joe? Adam Rubino, I'm genuinely excited to see KP's offense this year. Look, I know it was a preseason game, but like situationally, play calling, putting your quarterback in a position to succeed, I really liked what Patullo did first week of the preseason. Also, I love this graphic here too. Become the top fan. Gain XPs, those are points, by commenting, all stream long, and super chatting. Become the top fan today. Joe Lord!
Speaking of.
2 minutes. Can I get a few more minutes? I came in late. Of course, Joe. I said a little bit earlier, too, any $50 super chat, I'll shotgun a beer. It might be early on a Wednesday, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Tanner Plummer, Fangio, and Parker have probably changed quite a bit since Simmons played under them. Yeah, not a bad point. But, like, the foundational elements of the defense remain somewhat the same. Joe Lord, thank you, brother. Got in right before the expiration of that 2-minute super chat shot clock. I'm going to reset it back to 2 minutes. We'll continue to hang out, chop it up in the comments section.
And look at this, by the way. Joe Lord just came into the stream, right?
Yep.
Sending that, $2 super chat immediately. Number 4
Number
on
4.
the leaderboard.
Number 4 on the top fans list. What do I think of the Sanders family? Do you like them, hate them, on the fence? I'm on the fence. I don't mind them at all. Like, I don't love how Shedeur handled the draft process and the pre-draft process. You know, declining to meet with teams, rubbing teams the wrong way. Not a huge fan of how he approached that. I was at the NFL Combine. I saw kind of what transpired there. And I think that you have to approach the Combine and the draft like a job interview. And a lot of players and their agents and their representation, they do treat it that way. Whereas Shedeur's was very loud and noisy. I don't think that Deion did him any favors. But Deion as a player, Hall of Famer for a reason. One of the best overall athletes in the history of American professional sports. The guy was playing in the NFL and Major League Baseball at the same time. And he was a pretty good outfielder, and he was a Hall of Fame corner. What he's done at Jackson State and Colorado has been unbelievable. Turning around both programs to be great programs in their respective conferences. What Shedeur did in helping to turn around Colorado. Putting up great numbers despite bad offensive line play. It's great. Some of the things that he did as a football player. Accuracy, red zone, playmaking. Throwing the ball downfield. Throwing with great touch, accuracy, anticipation. Processing pretty well. I was shocked that he fell to the 5th round. And you know what's crazy too? I think the Eagles were going to take him in the 5th. Then the Browns traded up to take him because I think Jimmy Haslam, Browns owner, was like, we can't let him go to Philadelphia. Joe Lord, another 2. Desired trade comp for McKee. I would say a 1st or a 2nd. No joke. I think that he's the best backup QB in the NFL, and I really do think that he could start for a few teams across the NFL. Colts, Jets, Saints, at least 3 right there.
Joe Lord, number 1 on the leaderboard.
Joe Lord, see? 2 $2 super chats. He's number 1 on the top fans list.
Let's go.
How awesome is that?
He said.
Also, number 1 noobs. That's good
awesome
stuff. All right. We're going to sign off. Thanks to everybody for being here. Really great audience throughout the day. We will be live next Saturday. Show starts at 12 p.m. Eastern. 1 hour pregame show. Then we'll be live for the watch party. As we always do, we'll do an instant reaction, winners and losers for the postgame show. Be on the lookout for that. Obviously, back in the studio tomorrow. Videos to come every day. Long-form content, short-form content. We're bringing the heat. Thanks to everybody for being here. Go Birds as always. For Chip, I'm Chase. We're out. See ya.